Hi, this is Francis Sideco. I'm here with Jim McGregor. We finally were able to be in the same spot over the last 6 weeks with all the travel. One of those trips that Jim just came back from is Embedded World in Nuremberg. So we're going to be talking about that today. Just some key takeaways. There's a lot to report on. So Jim, maybe give us a quick overview.
Well, first off, it's the first time I've been to the show. Typically, one of our other colleagues would go to it. It's a great show. Every semiconductor company is there. And it's and not to mention that, but the whole ecosystem from EDA vendors to everyone else is there. And there were a lot of announcements there. Obviously, everything's focused on AI at the edge, but there's a huge range. TI was announcing getting back into microcontrollers with what they claim is the smallest microcontroller in the world with a ARM M0 core. I don't know if that's true, but it was definitely really tiny and showing how you can even do machine learning on something that small. MIPS was making announcements, very significant ones that I think will impact the RISC-V Foundation. The fact that nobody's actually really done a lot of custom instructions using the RISC-V because none of the customers want to do it. However, when you think about it, it makes sense if somebody can consolidate some of those requirements, and that's what they're doing. So their first version is for motor control, where they're offering their RISC-V products with custom instructions. So you can use their core, you can use their tools, you can build an SoC, or they'll build it for you. So they're not just providing IP, they'll actually do the whole thing for you. And they already have custom instructions designed for that specific application, that specific purpose.
I think that's the key to that approach that no one's done before, is that they already have basically a library for each use case of custom instructions. And then from there, it shows their customers what's possible. And then they're able to then say, okay, well, if you could tweak this a little bit more, tweak that a little bit more, but you have that kind of expert, partner to help you design those customizations, which I think is critical.
It is. And we're talking mostly about kind of the low-end solutions, but there's a lot of mid-range solutions. Obviously, Silicon Labs was there. Micron was there talking about memory solutions. Obviously, those are critical, important. Not to mention, pretty much everyone from semiconductor to one of the most innovative ones was a company called Inotera, which is actually developing a very, very small neuromorphic processor.
Interesting.
Now, it's not really for machine learning or AI learning, but it works extremely efficiency as an AI inference engine. So you've got something the size of a very small microcontroller, but instead of being able to handle, just a few tops or even a few, a million tops or something like that, these guys could handle fairly moderate-sized models on a very small, very power-efficient solution, talking about milliwatts. So that's going to be interesting. And then all the way to the high end, where you had AMD talking about their Turin solutions for embedded. Turin, where they're actually releasing their highest end solutions for data center servers in the embedded world only about 6 months after they announced them for the data center. I mean, this is very significant.
And they're closing that gap even more with each generation. They're closing that kind of time delay.
So to be able to take that same solution you're using, that Epyc solution you're using in servers or for data center servers, use it for storage, use it for communications, use it for embedded server applications, or any other high performance application, and still get the extended temperature range, get the longevity promise of 7+ years, and everything else for an embedded application. That's huge. So, I mean, the embedded market, that's the thing, is we typically think of the embedded market as
the small devices.
The small little
devices. That's not necessarily true.
Everything under the sun.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you have big cruise ships that sometimes have, or the military variants of cruise ships that have data centers in them. Who knows, they could be used for that. But while we're talking about those kinds of applications, just like in the data center, in the embedded world, when you're dealing with all of this stuff, you also have some scale up requirements as well. There was a company there that that I think you met with one of our friends, Nandan,
yes,
on bias systems. Tell us a little bit about them.
Very interesting. They're developing kind of a chiplet to chip, or a chiplet. When we think of chiplets, we think of all these embedded dies onto a single chip. But they're developing, and everyone's working on solutions to be able to connect those solutions. But they're working on kind of a chiplet networking solution on the system, and something that had very high performance, very low latency. So being able to take all these different dies, create a very intelligent network on the chip, very high speed, very low latency. So kind of, and I guess that's one of the other things that we're seeing at Embedded World, some of these other shows that are going on, is this rich chiplet ecosystem that's emerging. And whenever there's kind of a limitation there, somebody's rising up to address it, and Bias Systems is doing exactly that.
Yeah, no, for sure. And then obviously too, I mean, they launched it the week before that, but especially in the embedded world, Qualcomm just launched Dragon Wing at Mobile World Congress the week before, but they had a few announcements at Embedded World as well, right?
They did. They were well, their big announcement was that they bought
Edge Impulse.
Yeah. So now that they're bringing in Edge Impulse, which already has very unique solutions for edge type training and stuff like that, into the fold. Yeah. So they're bringing one of the leading edge kind of developers for the edge AI solutions into the fold. So that was their big announcement really at the show. And Zach Shelby, who's a good friend of ours, and is the CEO of Edge Impulse. He was just
I'm sure he was ecstatic.
He was very happy to be there.
Yeah.
So now it was a very exciting time, and they were showing off some of their industrial applications. So it was very interesting. And I have to say that I only spent 2 days at the show because I usually don't go the last day because all my meetings get canceled. I should have spent 3 days at the show. It was so big, and there was so much there. It was incredible. I mean, like I said, the entire ecosystem was there. So I met with Synopsys and Cadence on some of the solutions that they're developing. Obviously, both companies are not just EDA vendors, but they're also IP vendors with some of the silicon IP they provide. And one of the demos in the Cadence booth was still probably the best demo of the show. It was from a company called BD Sound, and I can't remember what the name of it is, but I called it the Cone of Silence. They have a solution using the Tensilica DSP where they can do noise cancellation for somebody that's listening, and actually have a directed mic. So the way they have this set up as a demo right now is you put on this headset, and the noise cancellation was phenomenal, better than anything I've ever seen. And then you pick up the tablet and you point it at one person, and you only hear that person.
That's awesome.
It was incredible. They're going to try to put it in glasses. And I mean, for podcasting and showing everyone demos and stuff from the show and doing interviews, that would be ideal. I begged them for a demo unit. It's like,
you could have used it here with all the background.
So I have to give them a shout out. BD Sound was a very impressive demo.
Is this one of those videos that you?
It is.
So just as a little shameless plug, Jim collected probably about 30 40 videos that I'm still crunching through because I'm doing all that. But stay tuned for a bunch of these videos that are coming out. And actually, also Jim had a chance to chat with Nakul Dugal, who is the group GM at Qualcomm, where Edge Impulse is going to get rolled into. So be on the lookout for that video as well for some extra insights coming straight from Nakul at Qualcomm.
Yeah, definitely look at the videos. I mean, obviously I did some interviews with some of the executives and some of the technical staff there. I did a lot of videos on some of the demos, so you can actually see how some of this technology is being implemented and get a better feel
what they're using it for.
And let us know what you think. Like it. Send us an email to Francis at Tirias Research or Jim at Tirias Research, and definitely like it and subscribe to it if you want to, because we're going to keep doing a lot of these. And like you said, I'm kind of piling up the queue. So,
well, it's good to finally be in the same place with you after a while. We'll talk more on the next video.
Thanks, Francis.
Thanks.